My name is François Vernet. I'm a development director in the risk technology department at Nomura Securities. And today's talk will be how we leverage AWS and EC2 Graviton to fuel the transformation of our risk systems. So first, a little bit about Nomura. Well, let me go through the agenda first. So I'll give a little bit of information about the company I work for, Nomura. Then what my team does at Nomura, which is to support the enterprise risk functions, and how we feel public cloud has revolutionized how we compute risk within financial institutions. Then we'll go over the high-level architecture of the risk systems at Nomura, and then we'll drill down into the Graviton case for both our pricing and aggregation use cases, which are very critical to our operations. And I'll conclude with some additional considerations and wisdom gathered, along the migration. So first, Nomura, the company. So we've been around for 100 years. We're about to celebrate our centenary in December. Hopefully, we're planning a big party. So we are a global financial services headquartered in Tokyo. We have 5 divisions: wealth management, investment management, wholesale, which consists of global markets and investment banking and banking. Our slogan is Connect Markets East and West. We're built on a tradition of disciplined entrepreneurship, serving clients with creative solutions and considered thought leadership. I've been lucky enough to be at Nomura for 11 years of the 100 years. So what does my team do at Nomura? We support the enterprise risk function, which means that we run the market and create counterparty risk models for all of Nomura's global businesses. We are very compute and data heavy, which makes our use case ideal for the cloud. We do not typically have too much concerns around latency. So just to give you a sense of the size of our deployments, so we deploy 65,000 plus cores daily across our create and market pricing batches. We use EC2 Spot for that. We generate typically around 2 terabytes per day. So, and we have to keep the data for up to 7 years. So our current S3 footprint is around 2 terabytes. So we use S3 intelligent tiering just to keep the cost of keeping the historical data low. And then we need to be able to aggregate and summarize all that data. So at Nomura, we chose to do that in memory. So we leverage around 100 plus very large EC2 instances, and that provides sub-second aggregation for both our credits and market risk model. So going through the high-level architecture of our systems, starting from the left-hand side, we have a data lakehouse where we store all of our inputs and our outputs. Our inputs are basically every single trade done at Nomura, as well as historical market data, and what we call reference data, which consists of accounts, currencies, countries, which we use as reference data within our system. Our data lakehouse is hybrid, so we primarily process the data on-prem, and we export it to S3 so that our deployments on the cloud can leverage the data. At the bottom right corner, our pricing engines consist of C++ pricing calculators that load the data, the input data, run the models, and output the output the models at the most granular level, which typically is at the transaction level. So that's a lot of data, and the data is then loaded into our aggregation engines alongside with the reference data, which allows our business to slice and dice by book or country or currency or counterparty in sub-seconds. We have an in-house custom BI tool, which with a set of views provided to our users, as well as the ability for users to create their own view. We also curate a set of virtual tables on top of our data, which allows users to access all of the data via the SQL language and do their own pivoting in their own applications and spreadsheets and user compute. Our entire platform is event-based. Now we'll double click a little bit into our pricing use case, and specifically how we leverage Graviton for that. So we've went live on AWS with our pricing around 5 years ago. We initially did it on Intel in North Virginia, and we added Ohio a year after that. About 3 years ago, we migrated all of our pricing engines to Graviton. So because they are in C++, that required a full recompilation of our pricing engines, as well as the number regression. Obviously, number accuracy is very important to us. So that was quite a significant effort. We run our pricing engine using 100% spot auto-scaling groups across North Virginia and Ohio. And we're able to leverage multiple instance types and t-shirt size and use all Graviton instance families, Graviton 2, 3, and 4, t-shirt size typically from 4x large to 24x large. So we run one engine on 4x large and 4 engines on 24x large. The Graviton migration, the end result was a reduction in our costs for pricing layer of 50%. It was pretty significant. And we did not see a loss of performance. Actually, we saw a marginal improvement in performance. So in terms of the lessons that we've learned for that migration is to obviously pick your deployment region carefully and leverage multi-regions so you can go after the compute where it is. And we did quite a bit of work on optimizing the tail of our batches so that we're able to quickly give the spot instances back when we no longer need them. So that optimized the costs quite a bit as well. So now on to our aggregation. Our aggregation is large JVMs, and when our Java vendors provided ARM compatible JVMs, we decided to switch our aggregation layer to Graviton as well. This was a lot more straightforward because it's Java, so no recompilation was needed. That being said, we also did a full regression, but it was, I would say, less of an effort compared to our pricing layer. So we use on-demand instances because it's quite a stateful process, to load the data and provide the slice and dice functionality. So we carefully crafted a set of CSP compute savings plan to cover around 80% of our usage, just to keep the cost down. Since then, we switched to a vendor which give us up to additional optimizations. We've also implemented our own sort of spots for aggregation engines. So if they're not being used or queried by our users, we pause them or we recycle them for other users. So that also helped us keep the cost down quite a bit. We're currently on Graviton 2. Because we use off-heap memory in Java, we prefer instances with instance storage. So our current preferred instance is X2GD. So the G is for Graviton, the D is for disk. But we can leverage other instance types as well. In the near future, we're planning to migrate to Graviton 4. So with this migration, we estimate that we have been able to ramp up our aggregation platform 3x for the same cost. So given recent initiatives, we were one of the first banks to go live with the FRTB IMA model. And we were able to essentially deploy new business features while keeping the cost flat, which was a huge achievement from our perspective. So to conclude with some things that we learned along the way. Invest early in your deployment pipelines and enforce resource tagging. This is very important. So we We use a centralized deployment pipeline. We've integrated with an OPE engine, which allows us to control the type of instances, the type of OS, and that people deploy. So that gives us, a sense of comfort that people are not deploying things that they're not supposed to, and keeps the cost down and the mistakes low. Also very important is to instill within your teams a sense of entrepreneurship and ownership. So with AWS, any dollar you save can be reinvested in other use cases or added to the bottom line. Something that we were not able to do in the past with on-prem infrastructure. As was covered in the previous session, implementing top-notch observability and guardrails is important. And also the focus on resiliency, as was also covered in previous sessions. So first we started with multi-AZ, making sure that our deployments are across all AZ within the regions that we use. And then we implemented multi-region. With the recent incident in North Virginia, I think this has renewed our focus on that aspect as well. And the final one is to stay abreast of AWS innovation. And build your own innovation on top of that. In my opinion, AWS provides a very powerful environment for people that enjoy building systems and solving problems. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to exchange. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate.